Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
This hour, we're going to hear the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, Bob Bailey, in his original role in after the quarter-hour shows finished up from 66 years ago, November 25th, 1956, and this is the Royal Street Matter. And we thank you for tuning in on this Friday. This is the 25th day of November, 329th day of the year, 36 days remaining. By the way, I'll mention this again later. But beginning, I believe it's Saturday, in our second hour of our show, and I don't like talking cross hours, but in our second hour of our show, if your station carries all 3 hours, we will begin bringing you the adventures of the Cinnamon Bear, the children's cereal from back in 1937. It was a delightful cereal, and we will bring that to you in our second hour. Now, on this date in history, the last British troops left New York City in 1783, 3 months after the signing of the Treaty of Paris. In 1926, the worst, deadliest tornado outbreak in the U.S. In November, it struck on Thanksgiving Day. 27 tornadoes of great strength reported in the Midwest, including the strongest November tornado, an EF4 that devastated Heber Springs, Arkansas. 51 deaths in Arkansas alone, 76 deaths, and over 400 injuries in all. Oh, it was on this date in 1940 that Woody Woodpecker first appeared in the film Knock Knock.
Guess who?
The cartoon starred Andy Panda, a long-forgotten character. In 1950, the storm of the century, a violent snowstorm, paralyzed the northeastern U.S. and the Appalachian Mountains, bringing winds up to 100 miles an hour, sub-zero temperatures. Pickens, West Virginia, recorded 57 inches of snow. 323 people died due to the snow. It was on this date in 1963, President Kennedy buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
O God, through whose mercy the souls of the faithful find rest, be pleased to bless this grave, and thy holy angels who keep it, and loose from the body we bury herein, and of our beloved Jack Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, and that his soul may rejoice in thee with all the saints through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Cardinal Richard Cushing at the graveside of the late president. Sugar Ray Leonard regained the WBC World Welterweight boxing title on this date in 1980 in a bout against Roberto Duran. It would become known as the No Mas fight. In 1984, 36 top musicians gathered in a Notting Hill, England studio, recorded Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas to raise money for famine relief in Ethiopia. 1986, Attorney General Edwin Meese announced profits from covert weapons sales to Iran illegally diverted to the anti-communist Contra rebels in Nicaragua.
The only persons in the United States government that knew precisely about this, the only person, was Lieutenant Colonel North. Admiral Poindexter did know that something of this nature was occurring, but he did not look into it further.
I'm deeply troubled that the implementation of a policy aimed at resolving a truly tragic situation in the Middle East has resulted in such controversy.
What a mess. It really was a mess back in 1986. 1996, an ice storm struck the central U.S., killing 26 people. Powerful windstorm affecting Florida, wind gusts over 90 miles an hour, toppling trees and flipping trailers. It was on this date in 1999, a 5-year-old Cuban boy, Elian Gonzalez, rescued by fishermen while floating in an inner tube off the Florida coast. And, of course, we all know the story that he ended up having to go back to Cuba. And he is there to this day, and all we're able to find out is he's doing well. Not much more than that. 2002, President George W. Bush signed legislation creating the Department of Homeland Security. And in 2003, the Senate gave final congressional approval to Medicare legislation combining a new prescription drug benefit with measures to control costs before the baby boom generation reaches retirement age. Passing away on this date in history, writer Upton Sinclair, Secretary General Ufant, Jack Albertson, who did a lot of old-time radio, but primarily as a secondary actor, probably best remembered by this generation for his role with Freddie Prinze in Chico and the Man. Also, actor-comedian Flip Wilson, Fidel Castro, and Detective Harris on The Barney Miller Show, Ron Glass. This is the birthday to temperance advocate Carrie Nation, Pope John the 23rd, born on this date, baseball's Joe DiMaggio, actor Ricardo Montalban, Lois Lane in the early Superman television show, Noel Niel, also musician Percy Sledge. I will not sing because I'm not up to singing when a man loves a woman. And John Kennedy Jr., born on the date that his father was laid to rest. He was born 3 years earlier. Ben Stein, conservative advocate and actor, 78 years old. John Larroquette, 75 today. Amy Grant, baby, 62 years old today. From Married with Children, Christina Applegate, 51 years old, cancer survivor and an MS survivor, 51 years old. The daughters of George W. and Laura Bush, Barbara and Jenna Bush, 41 years old today. And from Arrow and the Flash, Katie Cassidy is 36. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 25th day of November as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
And we're going to go back 66 years to November 25th, 1956. Bob Bailey as yours truly, Johnny Dollar. That's coming up next on this Friday edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now from 66 years ago, November 25th, 1956, Bob Bailey answering the telephone.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
Why, man? How's your stomach, Johnny?
What?
Rich food give you any trouble?
Who is this?
Why, your old buddy, Angie Orsatti.
Oh, hi, Angie. Glad you got my message.
Yeah. How about dinner tonight at Antoine's, Johnny? Shrimp gumbo, oysters, Rockefeller.
Yeah, sounds fine. Only I've got to do some work first.
Man, I thought you was here in New Orleans on vacation.
Nope. Little matter of fire insurance and the company's check for $16,000.
Somebody trying to cheat him out of it, huh?
You won't believe this, Angie. Somebody turned it down.
What?
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Providential Fire and Marine, 787 Greenleaf Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Royal Street matter. Expense account item 1, $103.82, transportation to New Orleans. Item 2, $4.20, cab from the airport to the Roosevelt Hotel. After unpacking, I put in the call to my old friend Angie Orsatti. Nobody knows the French Quarter or the people living there like Angie does. For 3 months of the winter, he stays in the swamp trapping muskrats. The rest of the year, he lives with his mother near the Cabildo. Angie wasn't in, but his mother said she knew where to reach him, and 5 minutes later, he returned my call. We arranged to meet for dinner, then I phoned the agent who had sold the policy in question. His name's Binford, and naturally, he was anxious to see me. C.D. Binford's office is on the 3rd floor of the Hibernia Bank building. He's a stocky, red-faced man, probably in his late 50s.
Come in, Mr. Dollar. Come in.
Thanks.
Help yourself to a chair. Say, you fellas sure don't waste any time, do you?
We try not to, Mr. Binford.
C.D., boy.
What?
You call me C.D. like all the other folks do.
Oh, okay, C.D.
Yeah. Now, like I was saying, you boys sure don't waste any time at all. Why, I didn't even call the home office till day before yesterday.
I know. When was the fire?
Last week on Thursday night. What'd they tell you about it?
Oh, not very much. Figured I'd get all the information from you.
Well, it's a doozy. First time I've ever run across a policyholder who wasn't yelling for us to pay him yesterday for his loss today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who is the insured, Mr. C.D.?
Man named Dupas, Henry Dupas. Took out a policy for $48,000. That's full coverage on his antique shop down on Royal Street.
How long ago?
August, just 3 months back. I'd been after him for, maybe 5-6 months to buy some protection, but he kept saying didn't have the money.
Didn't have the money?
And one day I dropped in to see him about his car insurance, and right off he told me to write a policy giving him full fire coverage on the shop.
Well, how do you arrange to pay it?
Cash, in full, the day I delivered the policy.
He tell you why he changed his mind?
Yeah, not exactly. Bet he mentioned something about times being better. I reckon there must have been.
Why'd he say that?
Well, a few days later, he had the back part of his shop all painted and fixed up. And that's the part that burned. And he hired himself a girl to work in the office. A real good looker, too.
Well, what caused the fire? You know?
I sure do. Antique kerosene lamp got knocked over accidental. According to what Dupas told the fireman, he was in the back of the shop with a customer showing him the lamp.
Uh-huh.
When it fell, the fire started. The two of them tried to put it out. I reckon that's why they didn't call the fire department right off.
Uh-huh. And did Dupas tell you the same thing?
Dupas? He didn't tell me nothing.
Well, he reported the fire to you, didn't he?
He did not. And that's what's got me so riled up. I wouldn't know about it now if I hadn't dropped in there the other day.
Was Dupas there when you stopped in?
Yes, sirree. And when I saw how the place looked, the whole back of the store gutted out and a slew of his antiques destroyed, I let him have both barrels, I tell you.
Oh, what'd he say to that?
Well, nothing too much. Just acted like he wasn't interested in whether we paid for it or not. Didn't even ask for a claim form.
It's funny.
Sure is. I thought maybe he was so upset over losing some of his valuable antiques, he didn't know what he was doing. So, after I checked with the fire department, got a copy of their report, I typed up a claim for it.
You figured the damage at $16,000, right?
Mm-hmm. I knew how much he spent fixing up the back. When I'd issued the policy, I'd gotten an estimate on most of the antiques.
So what happened when you gave him the claim? He signed it?
He did not. Said to forget about the fire.
Huh?
And when I kept after him, he called me a busybody and told me to get out of his shop and stay out.
What do you think, C.D.? You have any idea why he didn't report it or sign that claim?
If I had, boy, I wouldn't have sent for you.
I left Binford's office and walked over to Canal Street. The sun had gone down and a cool breeze was coming in off the river, bringing with it the smell of coffee beans and fruit from the banana boats. I crossed Canal and turned onto Royal, heading into the French Quarter. When I reached Henry Dupas' antique shop, I stopped. There are a lot of antique shops on Royal. All of them look pretty much the same. The building's as old as the fine rosewood mahogany pieces they shelter. There was nothing different about this one, at least from the outside. The fire had started and finished in the rear of the building. I tried the front door, but it was locked. I didn't think anyone would be there that late, but I knocked anyway.
Who is it?
My name's Dollar, Mr. Dupas. I represent the Providential Fire and Marine.
Why do you people persist in annoying me?
Well, we wouldn't if you'd tell us about the fire.
There's nothing special about that fire, Mr. Dollar. It was an accident.
Well, then why didn't you file a claim? You're entitled to enough money to cover your loss.
Mr. Binford explained that to me quite carefully. If you haven't talked to him, Mr. Dollar, you should.
Oh, I've talked to him.
Well, then go away.
Well, not until you answer a few
No,
questions.
leave me alone, please.
I'd noticed an alley next to the shop that ended where the rear door had been. I started back along it, not quite sure what I was looking for or what I expected to find. But I was sure of one thing. DePauw was a frightened man. It was too dark to see anything at the end of the alley, so I returned to the street. Item 3, $30.50, phone call, taxi, and dinner for 2 at Antoine's.
Oh, man. Kind of nice, ain't it, Johnny? Oh, the way it never changes. Same waiter, same chef, same clientele.
Yeah. Like another Cafe Royale, Angie?
No, thanks. Well, Johnny?
Yeah?
Well, when you gonna ask me?
Ask you what?
Oh, don't kid me, John. You had that old bloodhound look in your eye ever since we sat down. What's the question?
Okay, Angie. What do you know about a man named Henry DuPauw?
DuPauw's antique shop?
That's right.
Oh, not much. Seen him around some's all.
Yeah, where?
Oh, you know what kind of places I like, Johnny.
Yeah, but I can't picture DuPauw liking them.
Well, maybe he don't, but maybe that little old blonde he's been carrying with him does.
Blonde?
Yeah, you know, female, girl, bleached hair.
I know.
Yeah.
How old?
Oh, 24, 5. Yeah, real nice for old coot like him.
Real winter and spring, huh?
Yeah.
You seen them together often?
Oh, a few times. Saw him about 2 weeks ago at Butcher's place. Hey, you know something? I walked in there that night with a 5, and I walked out with 200. How about that?
Great. You know who the blonde is?
No, but I might be able to find out. You want?
Yeah, I want. I left Angie and started back toward Royal Street. On the way, I ran up item 4, $1.85 for 1 flashlight and batteries. The shades on DuPauw's shop were drawn, but I could tell there were lights on inside. In the alley, a small pickup truck was parked near the side entrance to the shop. In the back of the truck, looking like they'd just been taken off the boat, were several stalks of bananas. There wasn't much else to see except the charred wood and refuse left in the alley after the fire. I started back toward the street when a man, a much larger man than DuPauw, came out the side door and got into the truck. He turned over the engine and switched on the lights before I could get clear.
Hey, what are you doing there? Hold it, mister, right there. Here, buddy, you just hold it. What were you doing back there, huh?
Well, right now, mister, I'm wondering what this load of bananas is doing in an antique shop.
What is it, Carl?
Well, I just caught this guy snooping around in the back.
What? It's Mr. Dull.
Yeah, that's right.
You know him, DuPauw?
He's one of those insurance men I told you about.
Oh, well, what are you here for, Dollar? Didn't DuPauw tell you he doesn't want any money from you people?
Why not? Because he's afraid we might have to take a good look around before paying off?
No, son.
Now, look, Dollar. Mr. DuPauw has been okay with you people, so you got no reason to come snooping around. Especially after he's told you he don't want you around. So now maybe Mr. DuPauw will have to do something to keep you away. Ain't that right, Mr. DuPauw? You know what I mean.
Yes. Yes, all right, I'll do it, Carl. And he'll never bother us again.
Go on, Dollar. Get out of here.
At the time, I had no idea what they meant to do, so it wasn't easy to turn my back on them. But I did. Nothing happened. I went back to my hotel and hit the sack, and I must confess I slept later than usual the next morning. I was still in bed when the phone rang. Johnny Dollar.
Why, hey now, where's my dynamic northern friend?
Oh, he's off today. I'm taking his place.
Well, in the news I got, well, I reckon it'll keep till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, so long.
No, wait, Angie.
Yeah.
Did you find out anything about that blonde DuPauw's been seeing?
Sure, everybody around the French Market coffee shop used to know her. Used to, meaning up till she went to work for Mr. DuPauw.
She worked for DuPauw?
Yeah, in the office at his store. Started in there about 3 months ago.
Well, come on.
Well, since then, nobody sees her anymore. At least none of her old gang.
You know where she lives?
Yep. The Pont Alba Apartments. That is, unless she has moved.
Well, what's her name?
Rose Ellen.
What?
Yeah, she used to be a dancer. Had enough for you to go on?
Yeah, Angie, thanks. That's plenty. Expense account item 5, $1.40 cab fare from my hotel to the Pontalba Apartments. The list of names on the register near the manager's office told me Rose Ellen's apartment was number 215. But when I got up there, the girl who opened the door wasn't a blonde.
Yes?
Oh, I'm looking for Miss Rose Ellen.
She isn't in.
Oh, she at work?
Who are you? I mean, are you a friend of hers?
My name's Dollar, Johnny Dollar. I'm an insurance investigator.
Well, she hasn't done anything, has she?
Well, not that I know of. Look, Miss,
Garbo.
Garbo?
May Garbo.
May Garbo, November 25th, 1956. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. The news from 66 years ago today comes up next. Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station. We're listening to an episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, The Royal Street Matter, as it was originally broadcast Sunday, November 25th, 1956. In the newspapers of that Sunday 66 years ago, these were some of the headlines. The government yesterday obtained a 10-day injunction under the Taft-Hartley law to halt the dock strike that has crippled ports from Maine to Texas for 9 days. A full-scale resumption of work was expected Monday. The government will seek before the 10 days expire to have the order extended by agreeing for the full 80-day cooling-off period provided for in the law. President Eisenhower initiated the action to halt the strike on the grounds its continuance would imperil the nation's health and safety. The UN Assembly last night demanded for the third time by an overwhelming vote that Britain, France, and Israel withdraw forthwith all their forces from Egypt. The global fulcrum reflecting impatience with the delay in a complete troop evacuation, rejected moves to soften an implied rebuke in its demands despite new announcements by Britain and Israel of partial withdrawals from Egyptian territory. A Negro Air Force officer at Lockburn Air Force Base at Columbus, Ohio, says he has been forced to resign his commission as a result of pressure brought by a United States senator. Lieutenant Titus A. Saunders, 25, said he was informed last Tuesday by the base division commander's office that, quoting, "I must either resign my commission or be dropped from the rolls of the Air Force." Saunders added that Pentagon officials had told him the Air Force has been under pressure from the Democrat from Mississippi, Senator John Stennis, to either have him transferred back to Mississippi or dropped from the service. No comment immediately available from the senator or the Pentagon. The state of Mississippi last summer sought to have Saunders extradited to serve a 6-month jail sentence for drunken driving. He was arrested in Columbus, Mississippi on November 20th, 1954. While out on a $2,000 bond pending appeal of his conviction, the Air Force transferred him from Columbus to Lockbourne. Anita Ekberg recuperating from what her husband, British actor Anthony Steele, calls exhaustion. The buxom Swedish actress entered a hospital in Los Angeles on orders of her doctor to take a complete rest. Patrick O'Brien's urgent phone call at Burbank, California, that there was a prowler in his kitchen brought 4 policemen to the scene. They found a kitten scratching in a wastebasket trying to climb out. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, November 25th, 1956, on your radio, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You're a dancer, aren't you?
How'd you guess?
Oh, I'm good at recognizing talent.
Oh, would you like to come in? I've got some coffee on.
Well, that'll be just fine. Say, you've certainly got a nice view of the square from here.
I suppose.
Don't you think so?
Oh, sure, if you like that sort of thing. Me, I just think the square's kind of square.
Oh, that's good. That's very
I brought
good.
it up the day we moved here.
You and Rose move in here together?
Uh-huh. Oh, sit down, Johnny. Make yourself at home.
Well, thanks.
Gee, you're so polite. You wait to be asked.
Yeah. Look, tell me, what time do you think Rose will be home?
Oh, I couldn't say.
May, this is important. What time does she usually get home?
Well, I don't know. I mean, after all, she's got her own life to live, you know, and I'm not her keeper.
Okay.
Sometimes she doesn't get home for days. Oh, I better get the coffee.
She ever say anything to you about the fire?
Yeah? What fire?
The fire down at the antique shop.
No, you want cream and sugar?
No, thanks, just black.
Good. When was that?
The fire? Last Thursday night.
That's funny.
What's funny?
That was the last time I saw her.
What?
Yeah. Rose went to work last Thursday, but she never came home.
66 years ago, November 25th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll start your weekend on Friday's Classic Radio Theater with an episode of Counterspy, Don McLaughlin, Mandel Kramer, and the case of the hideous hijacker from 1950. That's coming up on Saturday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now the conclusion of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, November 25th, 1956, and the Royal Street Matter.
Now, Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Royal Street Matter.
This was the screwiest deal I'd ever seen. A guy refusing insurance money he was entitled to. Rose Ellen was my one lead, so I continued questioning May, her roommate. May told me this was the first time Rose had been away so long without at least sending for a change of clothes. I asked about Rose's boyfriends. She told me Rose had been going with one other man beside Dupont, but she didn't know who he was. After May promised to call me if she heard from Rose Ellen, I left. Expense account item 6, $1.90, taxi from the Pontalba Apartments to the Hibernia Bank Building. My insurance contact, Binford, wasn't in. So while I waited for him, I wondered again why Dupont had refused to sign the claim for the fire damage to his shop. Could he afford a loss of $16,000? I wondered if something had happened in that shop, something Dupont tried to cover up with a fire. I was wondering what it could have been when Binford walked in.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Johnny. We got trouble.
Oh?
I hear you paid Dupont a call last night.
That where you've been?
Yeah. He phoned me about 10, wanted me there fast. Oh, boy. I wish I had sense enough to stay away.
Well, what happened, CD?
Now, before I tell you that, you tell me what he said to you last night.
Nothing important. Just something about fixing it so I couldn't bother him again.
Oh? Well, he did.
How?
He canceled his fire insurance policy and every other policy he ever bought from me.
Cancel?
Yeah. So you might as well go on back to your hotel and pack, Johnny. It's none of your affair now, no matter what he's up to. Yeah, it's too bad it had to turn out this way. You want a drink before you go?
Yeah, I guess I need one.
Yeah. What'll it be, scotch or rye?
Scotch, neat, please.
Good, saves making a mess. When you reckon you leave?
Oh, I don't know. I'll check with the airline when I get back to the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks.
Better luck next time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's that.
CD.
Hmm?
What about the policy?
Policy?
Did he return the policy to you?
No, I said do it tomorrow.
But he's covered until he does return it. Does he know that?
Why, no. I don't reckon he does.
Good. He might get careless. And as long as that policy is in force, I can bother him as much as I want.
Oh, I don't see what's the use, Johnny. He'll have it here by tomorrow evening.
That still gives me 24 hours to get lucky. CD, you said something about a customer being with him when that kerosene lamp was knocked over.
Mm-hmm. According to what he told the fire department, there was.
You have that person's name?
Well, I should have. I took it from the fire department report. I've got that right here. Yeah, here it is. Now, let's see. Mm-hmm. The name's Andrew W. DeLong. Address 1515 West Claiborne.
There wasn't any Andrew DeLong at that address. We checked the telephone book and the city directory, and the only Andrew W. DeLong we found was out in Metry, in a mausoleum. So we drove back toward CD's office.
Well, now what, Johnny?
Dupont.
Huh?
Find out everything we can about Dupont and everybody who works for him.
Ain't nobody but his secretary, his assistant. fella named Carl.
Yeah, how long has Carl been working for him?
Oh, about as long as she has.
Does this Carl own a fruit stand?
Well, not that I know about. Why?
Oh, I just wondered. Hey, what time is it, CD?
2:15. Say, if we're going to check on DuPa's credit, we better get to the bank before the close.
You're driving. Let's move. Expense account item 7, $22.80. Telephone calls and a couple of gratuities to obtain a lot of information about DuPa. I learned, among other things, that he'd banked almost $11,000 in the past 3 months. Before that, almost nothing. But there's no law against making money, so I still had nothing concrete to go on. At 5:30, I left Binford, went back to my hotel, and there found a message from May, Rose Ellen's roommate, asking me to go to her apartment immediately. So I did.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah, hi, May.
Oh, well, come in. Johnny, you know what you made me promise.
Yeah?
Well, it happened.
You mean you've heard from Rose?
Well, no, not exactly. But a man called this afternoon and talked about her.
Oh, well, I hope he had only nice things to say.
Oh, yes, he said she's just fine.
What?
Didn't you hear me?
Yeah, he said she's fine.
Fine.
Well, what else did he say?
Well, he said he was going to come by at 4 o'clock and pick up her clothes. I should have them ready.
No, but of course he didn't.
Well, he did so.
He did? Oh, what man? You know him? You get his name?
Mr. Dollar, you don't think I'd let Rose's things go out of here with a complete stranger, do you? Of course he told me his name.
Well?
You aren't nearly as polite as you were this morning.
All right, I'm sorry. What's the man's name, darling?
Oh, well, that's much better. It's Grant.
Grant?
That's right.
That doesn't register.
From the way he talked, he must be the one Rose was going with while she was dating that old antique.
You ever see this guy, Grant, before?
No, but I'm sure he's the one she talked about. Really, it used to get so tiresome. Carl this and Carl does that. Oh.
What?
I said, oh.
May, tell me, where did he say he was taking her clothes?
He didn't say. Just put them in that old truck.
Thanks, sweetheart. See you later. I needed a fast car and a driver who could handle it, so I called Angelo Arsati. 20 minutes later, we parked in front of DuPa's antique shop. There was a dim light on inside. Now, look, brother, there's really no reason for you to get mixed up in this thing.
Oh, you kidding, son? Looks like DuPa ain't gonna answer.
All right, let's see what this hunk of stone will do to the glass. Here.
Man, that got it. I can reach through the lock.
Looks like nobody here. Well.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I see him. Carl, what happened to you?
Dollar.
Angie, call an ambulance. Tell him a man's been stabbed here.
Yeah, right, Johnny.
Dollar. Get to her before he can.
DuPa?
Gonna kill Rose. You got to help her.
DuPa wants to kill her? Why?
She found out. Smuggling.
Is that what DuPa's been up to?
Smuggling in banana shipments. Rose found out.
Where is she?
He thought I killed her, but I love her.
Yeah, well, look, tell me.
You gotta get to her before he does.
Where is she?
Old Spanish fortress.
Yeah?
Out on Bayou Slidell.
Old Spanish fortress on the Bayou Slidell.
Yeah.
You know where that is, Angie?
Oh, sure. An old ruin out in the swamp north of town near the highway bridge that goes over to the Gulf Coast.
Carl, how long ago did DuPa leave?
10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, we could beat him, Johnny, by cutting across the swamps. That is, if you could take it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's rugged.
Like what?
Johnny, did you ever ride a swamp buggy?
Oh, brother. How much farther, Angie?
Well, should be right up ahead.
How can you tell? All I can see is swamp and marsh grass.
Yeah, well, I done a lot of trapping out here. I know the channels.
Think we'll make the old ruins before DuPa?
Well, we got to, don't we? Hey, there it is.
That old wreck is called a fortress?
Man, that's it.
Well, get us up as close to it as you can. I don't see anybody parked. There's nobody approaching the bridge.
There we are.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, look, John. There she is at the side end.
Yeah, I see. Rose! Rose Ellen!
She's scared. She ducked back inside.
Rose! We're friends of Carl's. He sent us to help you.
Well, come on, Johnny. We can get inside to her through this here doorway.
Okay. This place looks like it's about ready to fall apart. Rose!
Yeah, man. Dark in here, too. Yeah, don't step on them falling bricks.
Okay. Rose! Rose Ellen!
Yes? Where's Carl?
DuPont tried to kill him.
Oh, no.
Rose, come on out here where we can see you. Rose!
Pa, he found out that Carl didn't kill me, is that it?
Yeah, but Carl's all right now. Look, Rose, I want you to tell me all you know about the fire at DuPont's shop. Were you there?
Yes.
Well, what happened?
Pa had me tied up. Told Carl I'd found out what they were doing. The smuggling, I mean. He told Carl to kill me. He didn't know Carl and I was going to be married.
Go on.
Carl argued with him. That's when the lamp got knocked over. They didn't stop arguing until DuPont said he'd kill us both. So finally, Carl told DuPont he'd take care of me. Well, he had to, or DuPont would have killed us.
But instead, Carl brought you here.
Yes.
Oh, come on, Johnny. Let's get out of this dark hole.
Wait a minute, Angie. Rose, do you know why DuPont was afraid to report his fire to the insurance company?
Some of the things he smuggled in was lost in the fire. If anybody come poking around, they might have found out what he's doing.
What was he smuggling, do you know?
Little tiny boxes filled with white powder, hidden in the bananas.
Johnny, narcotics.
Yeah, sure. No wonder he banked so much money so fast.
I'll bank much more after I get rid of you, Dollar.
Look at that. There he is in the door.
Yeah, watch it.
See, I ain't fooling, Dollar.
He can't see us.
No, but what a target he makes in that doorway against the light.
No gun, Johnny?
No. But we can try one of these bricks.
Yeah, man, but if you miss...
Dollar.
Wish me luck.
Yeah.
Dollar.
Right here, DuPont. Come on.
Oh, man, dear. You could qualify for the New York Yankees, Johnny.
All right, DuPont. On your feet. Let's get out of here. Expense account total, including rental on the swamp buggy, incidentals and transportation back to Hartford, $517.20. Remarks? Well, where he's going, DuPont wouldn't have any use for the insurance money anyway. Carl Grant turned state's evidence and clinched the smuggling charges against him. Because of that, Carl may get off easy. I hope so. He and Rose could make a very happy couple. And the remarks and a report. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here is our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, 3 sets of twins. 2 men, 2 girls, and 2 fires that hit the coast of Florida with the impact of a hurricane. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood. Written by Charles B. Smith, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in tonight's cast were Virginia Gregg, Forrest Lewis, Lou Merrill, Lawrence Dobkin, and Frank Gersel. Musical supervision is by Amerigo Marino and Carl Fortina. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Dan Cubberly speaking.
From November 25th, 1956, 66 years ago, Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Hey, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Would you do me a favor and thank this radio station and support their advertisers? It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around. Also, my friend Ted over at RadioMemories.com supplies us with a lot of the Yours Truly Johnny Dollar shows in great quality. And if you visit Ted, he's just finished restoration of a whole bunch of projects over there. So go check out Ted's website, RadioMemories.com. That's RadioMemories.com. He supplies shows on cassette, CD, or flash drive for your computer. Tell him I sent you by and make a request to him. He'll see what he can find out for you. Now, if you miss a day, you do not have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available on demand at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. You can stream our shows on demand. You can learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there, and if you like, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money goes to help us acquire additional classic radio collections from a number of collectors. And by all means, tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Have a great weekend.